What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, a place for new moms, moms to be, and moms with a new baby who are looking to create the best and nourishing foundation for their little one. Before you consider formula feeding your baby, before you consider introducing formula to your baby or mix feeding with breast milk and formula or whatever the case may be, I want to give you some really important information about the ingredients that are toxic in your baby's formula. Check this out. In this video, you're gonna learn infant formula ingredients, baby formula additives. We're gonna talk about commercial brands of formula. From there, I want you to decide if baby formulas are safe. Before we start, this is not a video to discourage you from formula feeding. This is simply a video to inform you about ingredients in commercial brands of formula that I want you to know about. This is a video to empower you if you are going to formula feed, and I want you to be confident in formula feeding your baby and know exactly what you are giving to them. What is GMO in baby formula? First of all, let's talk about what is GMO. GMO is genetically modified organisms, or you can just call them genetically engineered, genetically modified, or genetically modified ingredients. The reason for creating genetically modified crops is for two reasons. The first reason is mass production. Genetically modified crops are used to create large amounts of crops. And the second reason is because these large crops are meant to feed our ever-growing population. It kind of sounds actually pretty good if you think of it, but unfortunately, genetically modified foods, ingredients, genetically engineered foods are not safe at all. There are 4 reasons why you need to be concerned about genetically modified ingredients in your baby's formula. The first reason is that genetically modified crops are heavily sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides, which means that these crops are pest resistant and weather resistant. Basically, that means these crops can withstand an apocalypse. The second issue with genetically modified crops is there is a potential for those pesticide residues to end up in the final product, which is your baby's formula. How alarming is that? The third issue with genetically modified organisms is that there is absolutely no research done regards the safety of these crops being given to babies. There is no long-term studies, there's no short-term studies talking about the safety of using these ingredients in formula, which basically means we have no clue about GMO effects on babies and their health. So GMO health risks are unknown. This is a reason why we should completely avoid GMOs at all costs, because we don't know how they can affect people, especially our babies, because they are much more vulnerable and their systems, like their livers where they're able to detox these toxic chemicals, are not as matured as ours as adults. Commercial brands of formula like Enfamil, Nestle, Similac, and Gerber have really good marketing tactics. They are so good that they claim that their product is non-GMO, when in fact, their products are not on any lists of non-GMO certified ingredients. If you want to check it out, here's your website, the Non-GMO Verification Project, where they list every product, every brand that is non-GMO, that's using non-GMO seeds, non-GMO ingredients. Companies must have this verification label to state that their products are non-GMO. Large GMO crops like corn and soy are the largest crops in the entire world that have the most altercation to their DNA, that have the largest range of GMO seeds. It is very hard to find any corn or any soy that is not GMO. Let's talk about ingredients in your baby's formula. The first ingredient I want to raise a red flag to is corn. Corn, aka corn syrup, corn maltodextrin, corn syrup solids, high fructose corn syrup, or for short form, HCFS. This is one of the main ingredients in infant formula. Enfamil, Nestle, Similac all contain corn or corn syrup solids or some type of byproduct of corn. The issues with corn are endless in my opinion. However, I'm going to give you 3 issues as to why corn should be avoided completely. First reason was back to the first point of it being GMO. This is one issue that you should definitely take into consideration, especially when there is no research done on GMO and the effects on health. Second reason why we should be avoiding corn at all costs, especially for children and our babies, corn syrup bypasses all normal body functions. It passes digestion, it passes the liver, so the liver cannot clear it, the liver cannot make sure that it's safe to consume. It bypasses all those functions to make sure that that thing is safe to be going into the body and into the bloodstream and into our cells. Not to mention that corn syrup is the #1 cause for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is the main cause of obesity. It is the main cause of children who have high cholesterol. Any type of health issues that children can be experiencing all can be pointed back to high fructose corn syrup. That is because, which brings me to reason number 3, it is used as sweeteners in pretty much everything. Formula, kid-friendly snacks, our pops, our foods, our processed foods to be specific. Why is it used? Because it is such a cheap ingredient to use. Like I mentioned in the first point, GMOs are meant to mass produce, mass feed people. So that means that they're going to be coming at a cheaper cost, which is why companies like Similac, Enfamil, and Nestle are all using this ingredient. Cheaper ingredients equals more money. If you want to learn more about corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup, I'm going to link in my bio Dr. Mark Hyman, who talks a lot about high fructose corn syrup and the effects that it has on health. Let's talk about the third ingredient that can be found in infant formula, soy. Soy is found in pretty much every commercial brand of formula for babies that also include cow's milk. I'm not entirely sure why they are both put in there. In my opinion, it is a cheap filler soy, so it can cost companies a lot less money of actually putting proper ingredients into their formula. So they substitute other ingredients or fillers for soy because it is a high GMO crop. And like I said, GMO crops are cheap and they make more money. I also want to mention one thing about soy. There is soy formulas on the market for babies. If you watch my last video over here that I talked about last week about types of formulas, I mentioned that soy is the last resort to be given to babies. I only ever recommend soy formula to be given when it is the last option baby is reacting to everything else they're consuming, and I only suggest giving baby soy as, like I said, their last resort for giving them something. Note to self, if baby is reacting to cow's milk, most likely they are going to react to soy. 3 issues with soy. GMO crop, it contains phytates, which bind minerals, which can cause nutrient deficiencies. And the final issue that I have with soy is that it can affect a male's reproductive system. Check it out over here in this video as well too. While you're watching about phytates, you can also find out why it can affect a male's reproductive system. Amino acid based formulas. This is something I wanted to quickly throw into this video because I really wanted to share it with you. I also talked about it in the last video that I keep mentioning about the formulas. Is hydrolyzed or hypoallergenic formula is the partially broken down pre-digested formula. But in the process of pre-digesting it and it becoming hydrolyzed, monosodium glutamate is actually created in the process, which is known as MSG, which has also been linked to diabetes, ADD, and IBS. Let's talk about crazy additives that are inside of infant formula. All parents want to raise a healthy, nourished-brained, healthy-eyed baby, which is why DHA and ARA have been added to infant formula. Arachidonic acid, known as AA or ARA, has been added to infant formula, along with DHA. Like I mentioned, it has been newly added to infant formula just to give them that extra level of brain and eye support. I am all about nourishing a baby's brain and nourishing their beautiful eyes, but I have two issues with this added DHA. The first issue is that it is synthetic. Yes, it is sourced from algae, but in the process of producing it into this DHA that can be added into infant formula, it is being introduced to a neurotoxin, mercury, which can be potentially a contaminant in infant formula. Which, if you really think of it, if we're doing an important step into supporting baby's brain by giving them DHA, yet potentially we could be adding a toxic, neurotoxic, which is brain, nervous system toxin, then we're kind of defeating that purpose. Not to mention, we can be adding a lot more stress and a lot more damage to our baby's health. The second issue that I have with this added DHA into formula is that it has been known to cause diarrhea in babies. What you can do instead is give baby a DHA-free formula, but you can also use to support their brain and to support their eye health is to give them cod liver oil. This is a DHA supplement for babies. It is rich in DHA, so omega-3s, along with vitamin D and vitamin A. In my opinion, this is the best DHA supplement for babies. Note to self, if your baby's under 2 months, I strongly recommend you working with a nutritional practitioner if you're interested in giving them cod liver oil. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I want to inform you and give you the best information when it comes to formula feeding your baby. So instead of giving them all of these terrible commercial brands, let's give them something better because they are worth it. I strongly recommend giving them European brand formulas like Holle, like Nanny Care, because Europe has a higher standard of quality when testing products for food for babies. Here in North America, corn syrup is quickly added to sweeten up formulas. In Europe, corn syrup is actually banned. Now let that sink in for a second. That goes to show you how strict standards are in Europe compared to North American standards. If you want more information about nourishing your baby and how to support their health, support their amazing foundation to give them lifelong health, send me a message. I would love to support you in any way. And if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out. My email is linked down in the bio.